inform the public.
So join me as we explore the rise of Donald Trump.
Rich, ruthless, and famous, known for the buildings he's built and the wives he's divorced.
He played Monopoly, but more than Monopoly, he played with building blocks. Always with building blocks.
Donald Trump was born in Queens, New York, a river away from the gleaming skyline of Manhattan. He was a middle child of 5 kids, the son of an immigrant mother from Scotland who ran the Trump home and who was known for her charitable work in the community. But in Trump's telling, his father was his greatest influence.
My father built low and moderate income housing in Brooklyn and Queens.
His dad made a big fortune taking advantage of post-World War II government programs that funded affordable housing complexes during New York's rapid growth. By all accounts, Fred Trump was an obsessively hard worker, saying that he was successful because he could, quote, squeeze 9 days of work into a 7-day work week. Growing up, young Donald was the rich kid on the block. But even still, his hardworking father forced him to have a newspaper delivery route to teach him hard work. Though apparently when it rained, his dad would drive him around on his newspaper route in his Cadillac. Okay. Fred Trump focused on teaching his son the ways of the real estate business, taking young Donald to construction sites from a very young age. He instilled in his son a deep drive to win at anything you do, to be the winner. He would tell Donald that he was raising him to be a king and that he must become a killer at anything he did. He was tough on Donald because he wanted him to be a winner. At school, Donald Trump was, in his own words, aggressive. His music teacher, who died in 2015, once said that, quote, there are certain children who need attention all of the time. He was one of those. And even punching that music teacher in the face, apparently giving him a black eye, because, quote, I didn't think he knew anything about music. I mean, he was like in elementary school. But it does show you some of this personality that starts to shape up from a young age. Trump says in his book that he focused on creating mischief because for some reason, quote, I liked to stir things up. I liked to test people. It wasn't malicious. It was just aggressive. You can read a lot more about this in his book, The Art of the Deal, where he talks a little bit about his childhood, as well as this really well-reported biography, Trump Revealed. I pulled a lot from these sources in my reporting here. Anyway.
One of the great choices I ever made in terms of success was the choice of going to NYMA, New York Military Academy.
Trump's father, Fred, obsessed with hard work and discipline, sent Donald to military boarding school to live full-time when he was just 13 years old. And this is where Donald Trump really starts to thrive.
It was a good education. It was a good training. I enjoyed it.
From my reading, this military academy was pretty intense. It was a place where, quote, physical brutality and verbal abuse were tolerated and encouraged, both in hazing new students and physical disciplining from teachers. Trump actually thrived on this kind of intense structure. It helped fire up his competitive nature, and soon he would be getting good grades and winning medals for things like having the cleanest room or the shiniest shoes or the best made bed, all while going around telling fellow students that, quote, I'm going to be famous someday. And this is where I want to start to make a list of some of Donald Trump's core beliefs that start to become clear from a young age. This is stuff we'll see over and over again, and I want to make a list. First and foremost, the guy is obsessed with winning. You see this all over his childhood and the rest of his life.
I was a great baseball player. What position? First base, catcher, first base.
Trump was super into baseball. His baseball coach recounts that, quote, Donald always had to be number one in everything. He would do anything to win, and he wanted people to know that he was first. So teenage Donald Trump spends the school year thriving at military academy, eventually rising to the rank of captain over the rest of the cadets, and then spending summers back in Queens working with his dad, learning the ways of the real estate business. Both of these experiences are very formative and lay the foundation of who he will become and what he will do in his future. That future continues when he goes off to college.
I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words.
Trump gets into college and he still doesn't know exactly what direction he's going to take. He considers going to film school in LA to become a filmmaker.
Now, let's really break down what we saw a bit earlier, right? If you will see now, Trump from a young man was already practicing and becoming within himself what one would want to be a leader, a person who is all about perfecting himself, who's doing great in his schoolwork, who always wants to be first. That's someone who you would want to say is you would be happy to be underneath them, or that person is working with you. So I think that's something right there that says a lot about his character, and this was something that he was doing even from as a young man. Take a look at that.
Thrived on this kind of intense structure. It helped fire up his competitive nature, and soon he would be getting good grades and winning medals for things like having the cleanest room, or the shiniest shoes, or the best made bed, all while going around telling fellow students that, quote, "I'm going to be famous someday." And this is where I want to start to make a list of some of Donald Trump's core beliefs that start to become clear from a young age. This is stuff we'll see over and over again, and I want to make a list. First and foremost, the guy is obsessed with winning. You see this all over his childhood and the rest of his life.
I was a great baseball player. What position? First base. Catcher, first base.
Trump was super into baseball. His baseball coach recounts that, quote, "Donald always had to be number one in everything. He would do anything to win, and he wanted people to know that he was first." So teenage Donald Trump spends the school year thriving at military academy, eventually rising to the rank of captain over the rest of the cadets, and then spending summers back in Queens working with his dad, learning the ways of the real estate business. Both of these experiences are very formative and lay the foundation of who he will become and what he will do in his future. That future continues when he goes off to college.
I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words.
Trump gets into college and he still doesn't know exactly what direction he's going to take. He considers going to film school in LA to become a filmmaker.
My other fantasy as I got older was to do movies. I wanted to be a movie maker.
Man, what an alternative world that would be. Donald Trump, the movie director.
Down the hall and to the left.
Thanks.
I like keeping a low profile.
If only. But ultimately, he decided to follow his father's path. He studies economics and business, and this is like during the 70s. There's a war going on in Vietnam. Young men are being recruited, but Trump qualifies for an educational deferment, meaning he gets out of the draft 4 times because he's going to college. Once he got out of school, he would have been eligible for the draft, but he qualified once again for a deferral because of a problem with his heel bone. Though there is some controversy around this because the doctors who wrote Trump's deferral recommendation both lived and or worked in buildings owned by Fred Trump, Donald Trump's dad. And there's some speculation as to whether or not he actually did have a heel spur or whether or not these doctors were doing Donald Trump's dad a favor by making it so his son wouldn't be sent off to war. Either way, he didn't go to war and instead starts working for his dad's thriving real estate business, building lower and middle income apartment buildings in Brooklyn and Queens. And then there's this moment in 1964 that shows us another important part of his personality. We'll make it the second item on our list here. There was this huge bridge in New York that had just been completed. It was a massive feat of engineering, connected Brooklyn to like Staten Island or something. Fred Trump was invited to the opening ceremony of this bridge, and he invited his son Donald to be present. Donald sat there in the crowd and noticed that during this celebration of the bridge, the guy who actually designed the bridge was there, but he was just off in the corner. Quote, "No one even mentioned his name," recalls Donald. He goes on to say, quote, "I realized then and there that if you let people treat you how they want, you'll be made a fool. I don't want to be made anybody's sucker."
They just took us for a bunch of suckers.
This is a huge one. That for Donald Trump, it's not just about winning. It's that you must fight for recognition. That if you're not the center of the show, you're a sucker. Recognition and attention matter a great deal to Trump from a very young age.
I'm an artist. In a certain sense, I'm an artist. I build the greatest buildings in the world.
Okay, so
Sorry about that. right there, you can see that that was really an unbiased insight into Trump and where he was at a certain time. And I was born in 1976. So even before I was born, Donald Trump was already out there in the world making a life for himself and crafting. So we're talking about 50 years plus ago. This man was already a visionary, figuring out what it is he wanted to be. And he had a father who was supporting his vision and his aspirations to be a great man. So what I'm trying to get at is, let's just really be honest about the fact that whether you like him or not, he has a long time been making things happen in this world, shaping it in a direction he sort of see he wants it to be in his life. And he's doing a pretty good job at it, even from in 1970.
Trump joins his dad's business and he starts really learning the ways.
And I started off making little deals in Brooklyn and Queens with my father, and they seemed to work out.
He's only in his 20s, but he quickly runs into some big issues that would redirect the course of his life. At this point, we're in like the 1970s. The Civil Rights Act had just passed, which made it illegal to discriminate against people based on their race. And to enforce this, the US government, the Justice Department, would send agents undercover around to different apartment complexes to make sure that landlords weren't discriminating on who they rented to. This was a routine thing that they were doing, and it eventually happened to the Trump apartments. The DOJ would send in a black person undercover to apply for an apartment. And they quickly started to see a pattern where Black or Hispanic people would be told that there was no available units in that complex. And then right after, the DOJ would send in a white person looking for the same type of apartment, only to find that suddenly there was room in that apartment complex. Department of Justice officials did this over and over and started to see a pattern of systematic racial discrimination. And on one day in 1973, Trump and his dad are hit with this: the United States of America v. Fred Trump, Donald Trump, and Trump Management, Inc. The DOJ is hitting him with this lawsuit over allegedly discriminating against people based on race or color. They found that managers would mark rental applications with a C, indicating color. But yeah, these are one of these rental applications, and this may be the C that they are referring to here in the remarks section. I don't actually know, I haven't verified that. But in one testimony, a doorman for Trump's property said that he was directed to tell Black applicants that the rent was twice as much as it actually was. And then when they asked the super why they denied certain applicants, the super replied that he was, quote, doing what my boss told me to do. I'm not allowed to rent to Black families. The DOJ found that this was widespread, happening all over in Trump's at least 14,000 units. This lawsuit was a pretty huge deal. It was one of the largest fair housing cases at the time. Here's the New York Times front page the day after this came out. Major landlords accused of anti-Black bias in city. 27-year-old Donald Trump was furious. But instead of admitting to these allegations and settling with the DOJ, he fought back. And this is where we get to the next item on our list, which is a pattern we'll start to see, which is that when Donald Trump is called out for something, his response is often to fight no matter what.
I think people see me as a fighter.
Okay, put in the chat if you think that he was guilty of doing that. Now, remember the date and time. It was 1973. What do you think? Put in the chat if you think he was guilty of it.
I think people have always seen me as a fighter. They know that I don't take a lot of crap from people.
The Trumps responded by countersuing the Department of Justice for $100 million, claiming that they made false statements. Now, the judge dismissed this suit outright, saying that there was no basis for it. But even still, the Trumps fought on. During this time, Trump said that, quote, "I'd rather fight than fold, because as soon as you fold once, you get the reputation of being a folder." So he kept fighting for years, even though there wasn't really a solid defense there. And finally,
now this here is something that really stood out to me. So he just keep fighting. And you get to see that throughout both his terms as president, right? How he would not give up on a point or something that he felt strongly about, which is almost everything, I would think, because, and even now how he has Truth Social, he has the ability to just let you know what it is he's thinking at any given time of the day, is sort of like so funny and yet so Donald Trump, you know?
he was forced to fold. But watch how he does it. Watch what he prioritizes. He strikes a deal with the DOJ that allows him to admit no wrongdoing, but that would require him to make a bunch of changes, like emphasizing that his apartment complexes are open to people of all races, taking out ads in the paper saying that Trump apartments actually do welcome black renters. But he didn't have to admit any guilt, and that is a point of pride for him.
We settled the suit with no admission of guilt. It was very easy to do.
Fighting no matter what.
It was very easy to do. Take note of that.
Means never admitting you're wrong, regardless of the circumstances, never apologizing, never folding. It's something that all humans do. They evade responsibility, but Trump has kind of made a brand out of it. It's a pattern that we'll see over and over. But anyway, a bigger point I want to make here is that this whole lawsuit really turned Donald Trump off of his dad's business. He didn't like this whole renting to middle and lower income tenants. It was causing too much trouble for him. Remember, he grew up in a rich New York City family with a reputation and connections. He had a taste for prestige and luxury and wealth and attention, and none of that was out here in Queens. So in his early 30s, he starts to turn his attention across the river toward Manhattan, the epicenter of wealth, prestige, excess, and attention, the high life of New York City. And it wouldn't be long before he was at the top of it all. And this is where we need to take a slight diversion. And for that, I'm going to sit over here. You've heard me talk about NordVPN. I'm a big fan. When I'm on the road, I have become...
Yeah, so I'm going to cut it right there. And I want to say how, if you notice, I was telling you that Johnny Harris has a little sort of thing that he doesn't like about Trump. You can take a look at it. It's on this channel. It's called The Real Story of Donald Trump. I'll put it in later on and add it in because it has a lot more to the story. But I really wanted to touch on that part where, as you see, he had bigger dreams and bigger aspirations than just going down that route of just being a landlord. That was okay for his father. That was okay for, you know, different things that he may have been cool with. But as far as what Donald was into, he wanted to go above that. He dreamed bigger than that. And some people may say it's pride or it's lust or whatever you want to call it. But we all try to judge other people without knowing what it is that they doing. And that's just a human thing also. But I want you to take a look at this next video, right? And this is from Valuetainment.
Trump's doing a couple things here. You know who he is helping out? He's kind of helping out JD and Rubio. He's managing 25 projects, and one by one, here, we're going to take care of Newsom this way. We're going to take care of China this way. We're going to do this way. We're going to do Greenland. We're going to do resources this way. We're going to do Panama Canal this way. And meanwhile, celebrating New Year's at Mar-a-Lago. And meanwhile, having parties, events, doing what he's doing. Got to respect the fact on how he's working. He's at this point managing more projects in 1 year as a president than 2, 3, 4 presidents have done combined. Trump's doing a couple things here. You know who he is helping out? He's kind of helping out JD and Rubio. He's managing 25 projects.
And I agree. He's only been in for 1 year. And even before the oppositions against what he wants to get done can figure out how to stop him, he's already done it. They was arguing about him doing renovations at the White House and whether or not, by the time they get through with saying why he couldn't do it, the man had already almost finished doing the ballroom already. He's a man who is out there shaping the world in a vision. And I think he became the president at the right time because the United States needed someone who has the experience of doing these type of things for such a long period of time that he could get things done. Most of the fraud that was happening throughout the United States was going on because most politicians, when they get elected, they trying it out. Most of these politicians, they just came out of school and they got themselves a good career for a few years. They got a car note. They still got their student loans. Most of these politicians, when they get out there, they don't even know what they're doing. They're just taking some meetings and then they want to go on the golf course and sit down and play. But Trump, from he was in his 20s, which was way back in the 1960s, 1970s, he was already doing work. So now in 1 year, he already has the experience that he has already done meetings, done gotten assessments, people done call him back, he done reach out to people. He gets things done. And that is why a lot of the Republican Party, even though he wasn't a big time Republican before, said that they would be able to ride with him. And if you look at it, just what the United States is making off tariffs in real time is absolutely ridiculous to know that that's something that you guys in the United States was missing out for years. And so a person like Patrick Bet-David, he's worth about, they say, anywhere between $350 million to $500 million. This man lives in a $25 million home. The same gentleman right here. And he's an effective businessman. They understand and like the fact that Donald Trump gets up and makes things happen. Most politicians just want to find some place to sit down.
I am a Medal of Honor portrait artist. This is Sergeant Major Pat Payne, who you awarded the Medal of Honor, and this is actually his signature.
Do you think I could look like that if you did me?
Absolutely.
Give me that perfect jaw,
Absolutely.
all those muscles and everything else.
Absolutely.
So how was he did he pass away?
No, he's actually currently still alive.
Oh.
He is currently active duty. He's about, I think he's in his 40s. He's still maxing out his
Is
fitness
he injured or
exams.
anything?
No, sir. No, he is.
That's unusual.
Yeah,
The Medal of Honor
it
guys
is.
usually are pretty rough shape, right? Beautiful job.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I want to look like that guy. Tell him I said it, okay?
President, my son is going into the Army next month.
Oh, wow.
Can I get a photo, please?
Come on, get over here. He'll end up being a general. Go ahead.
Can I have
Back in internship?
I think you could. Is this your mom?
Yeah, may I have the honor to
That's how you turn out this way. Come on, listen.
Thank you.
Give me that baseball.
Sign one for the.
Where'd you get the baseballs? Where'd you get them?
Walmart.
Could you sign my hat?
Thank you very much.
Beautiful hair you have. What are you covering your hair up?
I've got the, walk with pride. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let's go. Come on, Mom. Come on, get in here. Come on, Mom. When Mom talks to you, listen.
Thank you. My kid's uncle right here.
Wonderful. I took 3 for good luck.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Hey, what's up? Well, folks, I found it. I found definitive proof of just how rotten and racist and fascist Donald Trump really is. And I got to be honest with you. Even this one surprised me. Check this out.
So I've never met Donald Trump. And I could never say whether he's racist or not. But he doesn't show the monster that people make him out to be. That's just me personally. So now, let's get real serious about whether or not Donald Trump could handle the job. Now let's take a look at this.
Because the force of conviction and the force of love is the strongest of all. I am very proud to be part of this generation of Venezuelans. Most of them have never known what it means to live in freedom or what it means to be part of democratic society. They have risked their lives, their loved ones, everything they have, because they share that dream to live in a free country. It's all about human dignity. It's all about justice. It's all about love. And it's love for our children, love for our country, and love for freedom that has brought us here. Now we face a very complex and delicate process. And as Venezuelans, we are absolutely grateful to President Trump, his team, his administration, and the people of the United States, because it took a lot of courage to do what he did. And he did it, yes, on behalf of the American people, but also because he cares for the people of Venezuela. And he told me that yesterday. And I think that was the most important message I can bring back to my country. Tell the Venezuelan people that the American people and the President of the United States truly cares for the life, the well-being, and the future. I'm certainly talking about our political prisoners and all those that have been persecuted those who are all today in exile. But I'm also talking about those children that are growing without their mothers because they had to flee to send food back, that are growing without education because public schooling in Venezuela works 2 days a week because teachers earn $1 a day and they need to get other jobs in order to eat, that are growing without health and food. And we have the generation that is suffering the highest levels of malnutrition in a century. That's our children right now. And it is because of them. It's because of saving lives that we're doing what we're doing right now. And that's why we're going to win. And the only thing I want to assure the Venezuelan people is that Venezuela is going to be free, and that's going to be achieved with the support of the people of the United States and the President, Donald Trump of the United States. So I'm very grateful to be here. We're facing challenging times ahead. We are prepared to do what it takes as a legitimate government. Edmundo González Urrutia and I have been in communication permanently all these days, and we feel not only with a mandate from the Venezuelan people, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I come back to the President of the United States, but also a huge task in front of us to prepare with other teams around the world and in Venezuela to take over government.
Okay, getting a little started going on there, but let's go to the comments. This is hilarious, right? So now you have in the comments, you got Dirty Val says that traitor needs to be arrested. Now, I think Dirty Val is talking about the vice president. Then you got this next one says, yay, keep sending money our abroad. I guess this must be saying, keep sending our money abroad so our CEOs can become richer at the taxpayers' expense. America last. Then you got this next person says, speaking about the ideals of a liberal democracy at the Heritage Foundation. You can't make this up, right? And then you get, go sell your country and oil. You still have not learned what freedom and democracy really mean. So it's like people in the comments are upset, even though Donald Trump already saved this country. The person who is vice president is thanking him and saying how he did it out of the goodness of his heart, because she knows that they was actually underneath such oppression and there was no plan or no vision to get nothing done. And here it is, even though Donald Trump is busy taking care of all those stuff that he did just in the 1 year that have people upset and some people happy, but he was working. He still now have a plan and working one for them that this, the vice president is admitting is something she could work with. And the people still hate him. And in the comments, like she's a fool. Most of these people don't know what they doing. They don't understand business. This man been making deals from the 1970s. This is Venezuela. Take a look at this.
Esto es Caracas, papá, se acabó. Sí, lo logramos. In the early hours of January 3rd, 2026, the U.S. military launched Operation Absolute Resolve, executing precision strikes on Venezuelan capital Caracas. They successfully captured President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, bringing them to New York to face federal charges related to drug terrorism and other crimes. A video shows a special military operation against a dictatorship with a million-strong army, which paralyzed Venezuela's military system without losing a single soldier or damaging any aircraft. Maduro didn't even have time to change out of his pajamas before being captured. The scene was as thrilling as a Hollywood blockbuster, leaving the world stunned. Under Maduro's rule, Venezuela experienced a severe economic collapse, including hyperinflation and prolonged storages of basic goods. He became notorious for election manipulation, causing food shortages and human rights violations. The U.S. capture of Maduro was met with overwhelming joy from the Venezuelan public. They cried tears of happiness. Trump's bold action freed millions of Venezuelans suffering under authoritarian rule and removed a major threat to the U.S. This moment will go down in history. Venezuelans, kneeling and crying, thanked Trump and the U.S. for liberating them from Maduro's regime. Many Venezuelans began spontaneously burning Maduro statues and images. Crowds chanted for freedom, fireworks lit up the sky, and everywhere were tears of joy. After decades of tyranny, oppression, and hunger, the people of Venezuela were finally free. This is the true will of the people. Chinese netizens commented, "If one day CCP General Secretary Xi Jinping is removed like this, celebration in China will be even more intense than in Venezuela." On Douyin, a video was posted showing the Venezuelan people celebrating Maduro's capture. The comment section, with over 11,000 comments, overwhelmingly supported the Venezuelan people. Many of them said, "There are not many artificial suns left," and asking, "When will we be able to celebrate?" Will the son of our homeland be scared by comments like this? Despite strict censorship on mainland Chinese internet platforms, topics like Maduro arrested and the US captures president alive briefly trended on Hot Search. Netizens expressed shock, with some commenting, "It was too fast, 1 hour to capture head of state," and "anyone who befriends the Chinese Communist Party is doomed." Many also used the moment to hint at domestic politics. Who will be next? Some joked that Maduro had boasted about using the Huawei phone given to him by Xi Jinping, and that the phone played a significant role in his capture. The blogger named Tian Rui analyzed the situation, saying that the speed of Maduro's capture shows the US had full knowledge of his movements and acted swiftly. This event, he added, sent a strong message to dictators around the world, particularly to China and Xi Jinping. It is likely that the US now possesses extensive intelligence on these dictators. The fall of Venezuela's dictatorial regime has far-reaching geopolitical implications, including for China's authoritarian regime. Many Chinese political analysts point out that for China, at least 4 major propaganda narratives are facing serious challenges: the stability of the dictatorship, internal social contradictions, the global multipolarity agenda, and the narrative of national sovereignty. The immediate impact of Maduro's capture is that China's long-promoted model of dictatorship, its so-called system advantages, is now facing collective failure. Famous Japanese media figure Akio Yaita posted on X, saying, "This sends a clear message to the world. When the democratic camp is truly determined, authoritarian regimes are not invincible. The psychological impact on Beijing, Moscow, and Pyongyang is far greater than any official statement." Prominent Chinese scholar Wen Guangzhong stated that the event was a major shock, making the Chinese Communist Party leadership deeply feel the strength of U.S. military power. Whether China will adjust its stance toward the U.S. in the future is something to watch closely. Chinese political commentator Cai Shen-kun said that for the Chinese leadership and Russian President Vladimir Putin, this event serves as a serious wake-up call. While they may strongly condemn it on the surface, they will privately assess their own situation and will not underestimate Trump's influence. Tsai raised the question, if Trump had been in office, would Putin have dared to invade Ukraine? During his 2024 election campaign, Trump warned Xi Jinping that if he dared to invade Taiwan, Beijing would be bombed. Cai Shen-kun believes that at least for now, the Taiwan Strait conflict is largely resolved, and the possibility of military unification with Taiwan is off the table. Maduro's arrest sends another important message.
So did you hear that? China was already told by Trump that if they mess with Taiwan, he would bomb them.
To invade Taiwan, Beijing would be bombed. Tsai Ing-wen believes that at least for now, the Taiwan Strait conflict is largely resolved, and the possibility of military unification with Taiwan is off the table. Maduro's arrest sends another important message, making the Chinese realize the crucial role of external intervention in regime change. The Chinese Communist Party has long promoted the idea that political changes are primarily driven by internal social conflicts. Tsai Ing-wen points out that the CCP originally believed that through pressure and containment, internal opposition forces would be forced out. However, in highly centralized states, relying on military and police for stability makes it extremely difficult to trigger mass resistance. Previously, Venezuela had not experienced large-scale street protests like Iran had. Trump appeared to maintain friendly relations with the CCP, but his recent precision strikes against global proxies, such as Iran and Venezuela, have directly shattered the CCP's so-called Community of Shared Future for Mankind. Not long ago, China and Venezuela had reiterated their desire to strengthen cooperation in a multipolar world. On January 2nd, Maduro posted videos and photos on Instagram of a meeting with the CCP delegation, calling it a pleasant meeting with Xi Jinping's envoy Qiu Xiaoqi. He emphasized, Venezuela and China share a brotherly bond, and both sides reaffirmed their strong ties. NBC reported that if the CCP's meeting with Maduro was meant to send a message to Washington, it clearly failed. Trump's capture of Maduro sent the CCP a clear signal that the Western Hemisphere is not their turf. On January 3rd, Trump said at Mar-a-Lago that after Maduro's arrest, the U.S. would temporarily take control of Venezuela until a safe and smooth transition of power is achieved. Tsai Ing-wen commented that Trump's actions were decisive, never just empty rhetoric. Quietly, he weakened the CCP's peripheral forces and cleared his global puppets, making Xi Jinping's dream of multipolarity utterly collapse. He believes these proxies, which have long been anti-American, have caused the U.S. many problems, such as Venezuela's massive drug and illegal immigration exports. With the Venezuelan issue solved, South American anti-American forces are likely to quiet down. If Trump handles the issues with Iran and North Korea, the global political landscape will likely return to being led by the U.S. Tsai Ing-wen also pointed out that Trump's...
Let's be real. I've heard it multiple places where people are saying about China versus the US. China has so much going on. The reality is that China is blocked so tight that no one never really knows what is going on there. And most of China's economy is smoke and mirrors based on them building buildings in their housing, and that housing is crashing.
Sent a clear warning to those close alliances between China and Russia. The U.S. has not lost its global management ability, and they should not be overly arrogant. Wen Guangzhong noted that the U.S. and China have fundamentally opposing worldviews. The CCP's Community of Shared Future for Mankind is a pure deception, full of illogical contradictions, and almost no one believes it. The CCP suppresses democracy and freedom with its party-state system, going against the historical trend, which will only isolate it more internationally. Experts also believe that the U.S. will strike a severe blow to the CCP's long-abused sovereignty narrative. The CCP's specific interpretation of sovereignty has become a core tool for internal suppression and external order building, including slogans like sovereignty over human rights and maintaining national sovereignty. The CCP's military exercises around Taiwan at the end of the year were done under the name of defending sovereignty. In response to the U.S. capturing Maduro, the CCP's foreign ministry once again raised the sovereignty argument on the evening of January 3rd. They accused the U.S. of violating international law and demanding that it stop infringing on the sovereignty and security of other nations. Akio Yaita commented on X, saying that if the international community continues to prioritize non-interference in internal affairs, it essentially enables dictators to oppress their people and create chaos in the name of sovereignty. When evil forces use systems, laws, and information warfare as weapons, responding only with moral preaching is nothing more than self-deception. Democracy leader Wei Jingsheng pointed out that so-called international law is only a reference, lacking authority granted by the people or nations, and has no enforcement mechanism. It's merely a non-governmental organization established by idealists, and many mistakenly believe that it is real law. Cai Shen-kun noted that the United Nations principle of non-interference in internal affairs and peaceful coexistence may seem fair on the surface, but in reality it is harmful. It gives dictators a free pass to suppress their own people and export wars without intervention. The United Nations has become completely paralyzed, merely papering over issues. If the US does not act, no one can stop dictators. They rule from the moment they come to power until their death, creating chaos and war. Cai Shen-kun emphasized that Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves, yet it has allowed its people to struggle to maintain even basic living standards. This corrupt dictatorship, disguised as socialism, has brought immense suffering to the people. The US must fulfill its special role as the world's police. Recently, foreign media interviewed 3 mainland Chinese individuals from different backgrounds: judiciary, the political system, and ordinary citizens. Despite their differing identities, all expressed strong shock, excitement, and hope. The fall of Maduro was not only a victory for the Venezuelan people, but also showed many Chinese that dictatorships are not invincible, leading them to hope that the CCP will follow suit. A judicial insider, speaking under the pseudonym Yang Ming, learned about the event through a VPN. He described himself as completely shocked. He said, "To capture a president in just over an hour is unbelievable. This demonstrates the Trump administration's determination and efficiency. Once a target is locked in, there's no dragging feet, just swift action." Yang Ming pointed out that in recent years, the political situation of the CCP's old friends have been unstable. From last year's September 3rd military parade to coups in Nepal and certain Southeast Asian countries, to protests in Iran escalating in early 2026, and now Venezuela's shift, these countries all have close ties to the CCP. The fall of each ally has been a source of great satisfaction. Yang Ming said, "This good news keeps coming, showing that the authoritarian alliance is disintegrating." On domestic affairs, Yang Ming mentioned that security was exceptionally tight on New Year's Eve, and highway toll exemptions were even cancelled during the holiday. He believes this reflects the authorities' extreme vigilance against potential instability. He said, "With less movement and fewer opportunities for gathering, this also reveals their unease. Many people, including colleagues around me, are privately discussing, will the CCP be next in 2026? Everyone holds great hope, expecting to witness its downfall." He stressed that Maduro's regime, disguised as socialism, has caused its people to struggle to survive, despite being a major oil-producing nation. The corrupt dictatorship's collapse serves as a warning to the CCP. He said, "The US took action. The role of the world's police must be assumed, or dictators will run wild." An insider of the political system, speaking under the pseudonym Zhao Yi, couldn't hide his excitement during an interview. He said, "When I heard the news, I was thrilled. No one wants to live under the shadow of dictatorship. Maduro's capture is not just a victory for the Venezuelan people, but for the whole world. It proves the effectiveness of external intervention." From a military and power perspective, Zhao Yi analyzed that Trump set a modern precedent with catching the thief by capturing the leader first. Zhao said, "Without large-scale ground battles, without
Now bear in mind, this is a Chinese station that we listening to. This is called the China Observer. Shout out to China Observer. I like to watch their stuff. They give you news from a different perspective. I also like to take a look at First Post, where you get things from the Indian perspectives. The internet has opened up the door that you can get so many different viewpoints from different parts of the world. Once you know what you're watching, and you take it, like you say, take it for by the grain of salt. But in general, you can get a lot of different viewpoints so that you can put together an understanding on what's going on. And in most countries of the world, debt is destroying them because they have politicians running their country versus a person who understand or have a vision of how to run things. And the United States luck out that Donald Trump is back in the White House again.
Sacrificing countless soldiers and civilians, he ended a potential long-term conflict with precision. It reflects the wisdom of an ancient Chinese saying, but in a more civilized and efficient manner. Trump is truly a great leader. He revealed that while the news was partially blocked, state media has reported it quietly, unable to fully cover it up. Zhao Yi said, "Many in the system are discussing it privately, and high-level officials are probably urgently studying how to prevent similar decapitation strikes. They're definitely in meetings, assessing the safety of top leaders. But this also shows everyone that dictators are not untouchable." Zhao Yi estimates that the vast majority of Chinese people would be happy about similar events. He said, "People are tired of oppressive rule, economic decline, and propaganda lies. If dictatorship can end peacefully without sacrificing the interests of ordinary people, that would be the best outcome. The Maduro incident gives us hope." An ordinary citizen from mainland China, speaking under the pseudonym Li Hao, expressed his excitement after watching related videos on social media. He said, "Good news, I'm so excited. Venezuela is finally liberated. The people are celebrating nationwide. When Maduro and his wife were captured alive, it was such a satisfying moment. When will we, the Chinese, be liberated like this?" Li Hao lamented the domestic situation. He said, "The people no longer want to live under CCP rule. The economy is depressed. We can't afford anything. Unemployment is severe, and everyone's poor. But the authorities are still making things worse, selling resources, suppressing dissent, and exporting chaos. The CCP will eventually self-destruct. It's hated by the people, and no one truly supports it." He especially pointed out that Maduro's regime had long been accused of drug trafficking and corruption, leading to the collapse of the country, yet Maduro held power for life. Li said, "Isn't this just a mirror image of the CCP? If the people of Iran and Venezuela can bravely take to the streets to protest, why can't we Chinese? As long as we unite, the CCP's demise is not far off." Li Hao called for more people.
The only problem is in those countries, it's different from the United States. In the United States, you might get some tear gas. But in those countries, sometimes they open fire on the whole crowd. Could you imagine that? You out there protesting and a whole firing squad just come and just gun people down? I know with all the different things that's going on with the ICE protests and stuff like that, but these protests in these other countries, that's a whole different type of thing going on. That's a whole different type of thing. And the United States have to be happy that they live in a country where there's restraint.
To wake up. Maduro's capture proves that the US will not stand by while dictators wreak havoc on the world. External forces combined with internal awakening can drive change. We can't wait. All of the interviewees agreed that this event is a huge deterrent to the CCP. It breaks the narrative of sovereignty above all and non-interference in internal affairs. It also proves that external intervention can play a key role in highly centralized countries. More importantly, it has sparked hope among the Chinese people. Dictatorship is not eternal, and the day of change may not be far off. 2026 is bound to be an extraordinary year. The shocking downfall of Venezuela, a country that was once a close ally of the CCP, has made Beijing very nervous. They know that such a dramatic change in an authoritarian country is highly contagious, just like the Eastern European revolutions of the late 80s and early 90s, and the subsequent collapse of the Soviet Union. Maduro's capture is not just the liberation of the Venezuelan people. It marks the beginning of a counterattack by the global democratic camp. The CCP's end may come sooner than expected.
So even China wanted that to just happen for them too. So boy, I'm telling you, the world is an upside down place right now. But the thing about it is the United States have someone who is used to having multiple meetings, which making things happen. Most countries don't have that. Most countries have some fella who already just graduated out of school. He's got student loan debt. He has so much going on. And he finally get this job as becoming a mayor or governor or senator, and now he has 10 times the amount of things to do. And here it is. These type of things is what Donald Trump loves. This is the type of stuff that he wants. And he's doing it. Take a look at this.
The global economy is shifting in ways that we haven't seen in decades. After the president of Venezuela, and oil companies are lining up to drill oil out of Venezuela. In Japan, their national debt is hitting a breaking point, and this matters because they are the largest foreign holder of United States dollars in the world. And China is fighting an economic war with the United States by restricting the sale of specific metals to America. So if you're an investor, this video is for you because all of these things create new and unique investment opportunities that I'm going to break down in this video. And this is also a live, free, and virtual investor summit where I'm going to be going over how our economy is shifting from these geopolitical changes around the world, from AI to Trump policies, how these changes create new investment opportunities for financially savvy investors based off of the tons of research that my team has been doing. I'm going to break it all down on this workshop for free, and I'll also show how they create opportunities for investors in 2026. It's a free workshop, it's live, but you do have to register, and I recommend doing so soon because it's right around the corner. So if you'd like to join me on this workshop, I have the link for you down in the description below. And a quick request that if you are interested in joining, make sure you register soon because we have a limited number of people that can actually join me live. Let me start by talking about Venezuela because President Trump captured the president of Venezuela. And I know this creates a lot of political controversy, but I'm not here to talk about politics. I'm here to talk about the financial side of things. The reason why this matters financially is because Venezuela is sitting on the world's largest supply of oil in the world. The
largest world supply of oil. Already on the ground, ready to go. Not theories, they have it. Once you get the price of gas to go down, just like Trump said, things should really get to go low. I remember years ago, they were supposed to have a deal where the Bahamas was supposed to get gas from Chavez. And I think at the time, gasoline was like 25 cents a gallon in Venezuela, if I'm not mistaken. If we could get gas at that price, that would have changed how the Bahamas would have worked. But the United States said if we got gas from them, they would lift our pre-clearance, which would have impacted tourism. And tourism was our #1 industry. So again, you have to work with the person who's working with you. And sometimes the person who's working with you hits you with a deal that you cannot refuse. And that's what Trump doing with the tariffs.
Venezuela has more oil than Saudi Arabia and about 4 times more oil than the United States. And now, according to President Trump, we, the United States, are in control of Venezuela. Now, the reason why investors are so interested in this is because a lot of oil companies from the United States were involved in Venezuela decades ago. But then in 2007, the then leader, Hugo Chavez, decided to nationalize the oil industry. And so they seized these oil assets away from American companies, and that then hurt those oil companies from the United States. And this is where President Trump says that oil companies from the United States will now be able to go back into Venezuela and start drilling oil. Take a listen.
We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country.
Now, it's going to take time to see the real impact of the oil in Venezuela because the infrastructure in Venezuela has become very old, and it's going to take time for these oil companies to go in and invest the money and fix those oil pipelines and supply chains in Venezuela. But the goal would be to have these American oil companies go into Venezuela, start drilling oil. That way we could increase the supply of oil and bring down the prices of oil. Now, yes, that could bring down the price of gas and other products, but there's another reason why President Trump wants this to happen, and it has to do with Russia. And the reason why is if President Trump can flood the economy, flood the markets with oil, oil prices go down, and now Russia's economy would be getting hurt even more because Russia's economy is being held up because of oil prices. So if oil prices fall, now Russia's economy would be getting hurt, and that might force them to stop the war. And it also has to do with China, because China has recently become the largest buyer of oil from Venezuela. Recently, like in 2024, China bought something like 80% of Venezuela's oil because the United States put sanctions on Venezuela in 2017 during President Trump's last term. And so now that the United States effectively controls Venezuela, that also could hurt China. Now, I'm going to talk more about China in just a minute, but if you were interested in investing in the oil industry, because like we saw immediately after this happened,
that is going to hurt China. Taking this oil from China is going to make China really turn upside down. And right now in China, they have a lot of unrest that's going on that even its leader is feeling the pinch. There's some stuff floating around where they believe that he was even, there was an attempt to try and assassinate him. Maybe I might drop something on that one time, but I'm telling you, the world is upside down and no one has an idea how to make things happen. And President Trump knows what he wants, knows how to make the United States strong. And we in the Bahamas sitting right next to them, we need them to be strong. So I think he's got a plan and he's the quarterback. The United States citizens need to get it together. But boy, it's going to be quite a change, and it's going to get bad before it gets really good. But when you look at what the numbers and what he's doing things so fast. It may turn around quicker than they think.
Venezuela, we saw oil stocks boom. If this was something that you're interested in, and I'm not telling you what to do because number one, I'm not a financial advisor. Number two, I'm just a random guy on YouTube. And number three, personal finance is personal. What's right for you is not right for me. You have to decide what's right for you, and it should make legal sense, financial sense, and moral sense. I'm not here to be the judge of your financial compass. But if you were interested in investing in the oil industry, there are a couple of ways that you go about doing so. If you believe these changes in Venezuela are going to benefit the oil industry, then there are a couple of ETFs that you can consider investing in. Again, there are a lot of different ETFs that you can consider. These are just a couple examples so you can start thinking like an investor. Number one is XLE. This is an ETF that is created by State Street that gives you exposure to energy companies. And then we have VDE. This is another ETF created by Vanguard that is also giving exposure to energy companies. So of course, you can invest in specific companies or you can invest in ETFs that are giving exposure to a basket of different energy companies. Then we have Japan.
So you see right now, what he's doing is opening up doors to trickle down into the mouths of the lower fish. It goes down into the next set of fish. It goes down. And if you know what you're doing, and if you don't know what you're doing, you find out what to do. That's on the agenda of what the quarterback is doing. He's the quarterback. You guys voted him in. He's yours. And the thing about it, right now, I'll show you a little something what I think has a lot of the other countries a bit nervous. Have you seen this yet?
We were on guard, but suddenly all our radar. This is an account from a Venezuelan security guard loyal to Maduro. Here's what the guard said, and I'm quoting. On the day of the operation, we didn't hear anything coming. We were on guard, But suddenly all our radar systems shut down without any explanation. The next thing we saw were drones, a lot of drones, flying over our positions. We didn't know how to react. Interviewer says, so what happened next? How was the main attack? Security guard. After those drones appeared, some helicopters arrived, but there were very few. I think barely 8 helicopters. From those helicopters, soldiers came down, but a very small number, maybe 20 men. But these men were technologically very advanced. They didn't look like anything we fought against before. Interviewer. And then the battle began? Security guard. Yes, but it was a massacre. We were hundreds, but we had no chance. They were shooting with such precision and speed. It seemed like each soldier was firing 300 rounds per minute. We couldn't do anything. Interviewer. And your own weapons, didn't they help? Security guard. No help at all, because it wasn't just the weapons. At one point, they launched something. I don't know how to describe it. It was like a very intense sound wave. Suddenly, I felt like my head was exploding from the inside. We all started bleeding from the nose. Some were vomiting blood. We fell to the ground, unable to move. Interviewer. And your comrades, did they manage to resist? Security guard. No, not at all. Those 20 men, without a single casualty, killed hundreds of us. We had no way to compete with their technology, with their weapons. I swear, I've never seen anything like it. We couldn't even stand up after that sonic weapon or whatever it was. Interviewer. So do you think the rest of the region should think twice before confronting the Americans? Security guard. Without a doubt. I'm sending a warning to anyone who thinks they can fight the United States. They have no idea what they're capable of. After what I saw, I never want to be on the other side of that again. They're not to be messed with. Interviewer. And now that Trump has said Mexico is on the list, do you think the situation will change in Latin America? Security guard. Definitely. Everyone is already talking about this. No one wants to go through what we went through. Now everyone thinks twice. What happened here is going to change a lot of things, not just in Venezuela, but throughout the region. End of quote.
There you go. So he's got the experience. He's got a plan. He's got a front line offense and defense that is not to be played with. And most of these other leaders know that that is the case. And go to the table, make a deal. Some people are not going to make a deal. So we're going to see where this turns out. But I'm betting on Trump.